All right, in this video, what we're going to do is we're going to talk about DNS and how we don't have to have a fancy piece of hardware to achieve our goals when it comes to keeping our family safe on the internet. All of this can be done by using a service by Cloudflare to help you keep your family or your company safe from malicious sites or even adult websites when it comes to browsing the internet. So let's go ahead and jump right into it. All right, first, before we get started, let's have a little bit of background and kind of understand what DNS is. So DNS is like the address book that's on your phone. When you get a new phone number from somebody, you don't just put that phone number in your phone and leave that. What you do is you attach a name to that phone number. And that's basically what DNS is for the internet. It's the phone book for the internet. When you want to go to YouTube, you don't just go into a browser and type in 142.251.116.91. No, you go to the top and you type in YouTube. Your computer then looks up what numbers associated with YouTube and directs your browser to it. So let's do this. Let's take a quick look at what your computer does in the background when you try to look up a website by pulling up a command prompt and then going to and seeing what the site shows. So on here, we've got our command prompt, and what we're going to do is we're just going to use two little tools real quick to find out what YouTube is. So we can use a tool called ping. So if I go ping and I do YouTube, and then I hit enter, you'll see that in the background, what we've got on here is we use the tool ping, and we're looking up youtube.com. That's exactly what your computer does when you put it into your browser, and it goes out and goes, oh, hey, here's YouTube right here. And to get to YouTube, we need to go to this address. And that's all it does, right? We can also use another tool called NSLookup. And if you do that and you hit enter, then at that point, you can tell what phone book or what server your computer is using to look up those sites. So right now, my computer is using an address or a server that's here locally on my domain. And whenever I do a lookup, what it's doing is it's pointing to this specific server right here to do a lookup. So it's going, whenever I put in youtube.com, it goes to 192.168.1.1 and says, hey, do you know where this resides? And that then spits back to my computer, yeah, go to this phone number or go to this IP address, and it does that. So we can do a quick lookup on here. So when you use this tool, all you got to do is type in the website. So for instance, we can go on here and we can type in google.com. And basically what that does is it spits out all the servers that google.com, all the addresses for google.com. So quick and easy. That's a little insight as to what your computer is doing in the background. All right, so now that we have a better understanding of just what is going on for DNS, how can we use this to our ability to help us stay safe? There is a company called Cloudflare. They have a service that they provide to everyone. And that service is a service called 1.1.1.1, which is the DNS server that Cloudflare has publicly that anybody can take advantage of. They put this out in 2018, I believe. That server has zero restrictions, just like every other DNS server on it. But what they did is in 2020, they decided to create a family-safe 1.1.1.1 by using two new DNS services. So here is the Cloudflare blog, and it shows that here's the 1.1.1 families. And if we scroll down, we can see that they are setting up the encryption. They're setting up stuff for 1.1.1 and the families. We can read through this whole blog. I'll put a link in the description below. But you can see as we go through and read this, 1.1 or 1.1.1.1 is a very fast DNS server, quick and easy to pick stuff up. But what I want to show you guys is what they decided to do. They got many people writing in, and they decided to, in 2020, to introduce 1.1.1.1 for families, which is the easiest way to add a layer of protection for your home network to protect from malware and to protect from adult content. So this is for families. All you have to do is you have to use that as your lookup. So what we'll need to do is find out how do we go in and set this as our lookup. Now, each one of these servers does something a little bit different. So you have 1.1.1.1. That is an open DNS server But if we scroll down, we see that they have created 2 new flavors. We have a 1.1.1.2. I think I said 1 4 times. We have a 1.1.1.2, which removes malware. And we also have a 1.1.1.3 that removes the malware and the adult content. And I know what you're saying. Well, how does it remove malware, or how does it remove the adult content? What they're doing is they go in the background and all the sites that they know of. So the adult websites, when you go to 1.1.1.3, which removes malware and adult sites, once you look that up, it points it in a different direction and doesn't allow that site to load. Same goes for malware content. If they find sites that are full of malware or something, they put those in there, and all they're doing is they're doing the filtering for you. You don't have to worry about having an expensive firewall or something in place to filter all this stuff out. It's done for you by Cloudflare. All right, so how do we implement this, and how do we know that it's working? So there are 2 ways that we can implement this. One, you set it up manually directly on the computer itself. You set up your primary and your secondary DNS server on the computer. We'll look at that. Secondly, what you can do is you can update your DHCP service that's on your gateway or on your router to hand out the Cloudflare DNS instead of handing out your current ISP's DNS server. That would be the recommended way, because then it would cover your whole household and not just a computer. You can decide which one works for you. Right now, we'll look at both ways and show you how it works and what actually happens once you put this service in place. All right, so we're back over here. We've got the internet up. Let me go ahead and pull over the settings into this as well, and we can look at the network adapter that I have on my computer and what's set up as its current DNS settings. Okay, here we are. We can see that I've got my network adapter set up. We currently see that my DHCP, I get an IP address that's automatically assigned to me. I do currently have it set manual to 1.1.1.1 as my DNS, or as my lookup to find those websites. And then everything else below is what it is. So let's go ahead by using the 1.1.1 DNS lookup. Let's use that and see what comes up when we search for something like an adult website, because those are the easiest to pull up and then be able to get away. It's harder to find a malware website. So we'll use that and show you what comes up with the 1.1.1.1 DNS server versus the 1.1.1.3 DNS server in place. All right, I currently have a site put in my browser ready to go. So I'm going to go ahead and hit enter, and we're going to see something that pops up. It's not going to be safe for work. Everything will be blurred out, but you'll see that the site actually does come up. So let's go ahead and do that. And we can currently see that this site does come up. So let's see what happens when we change our records from 1.1.1.1 to 1.1.1.3. Let's make that change real quick. Okay, I've got my network adapter back up. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go down here where it says DNS server assignment, which I know this is kind of hard to see, but I'm going to go ahead and hit edit. And what we're going to do is we're going to change that 1.1.1.1 to 1.1.1.3, and we'll go ahead and hit save. We'll just use a primary for right now. We'll hit save that, and then now let's go back and see what happens when we try to go to that website we went to just a minute ago. Now you see that it pops up and it says, this site cannot be reached. So by putting in the 1.1.1.3 versus the 1.1.1.1, that lookup now goes and shows that there is no website out there. There is no IP address or no number associated with that site. And I can show you this by doing that NS lookup tool that we did earlier. Let's go ahead and jump over there and look at that. Okay, I'm back over here with the command prompt up, and I'm gonna show you what actually happens in the background with this tool to prove what's happening. The website they were using was Xvideos or something like that, so we'll use that here to do a lookup on here. We'll go ahead and type in NS lookup here, and you can currently see that it's using the 1.1.3 as our lookup server. So if I were to type in Xvideos, I believe is what it is, and we hit enter, we now see that there is no address that is associated to xvideo.com. All right, so if we change our server to 1.1.1.1, let's see what happens. So if we go in here and change server to 1.1.1.1 to be our lookup server, We hit OK. Now it says this is our lookup server. And we go and we look up that exact same thing. Let's see what happens here. Now it actually gives us the address. So you can see in the background what's happening is when it does that lookup, it says, oh no, I see that this is a bad site, a malicious site, a site that's not appropriate. I don't want to give you an address for it. Therefore, I'm going to give you 0.0.0.0 across the board for all these bad websites. And when you try to go to them, it's not going to pull it up, which is a fantastic way to stop malicious websites, adult content websites, and so forth at home without using big fancy firewalls and rules and so forth. All right, so now that we set that up manually on a computer, let's go and look at what I've got set up on my home router and how we set it up there so that all of my devices get this setting. All right, many of you that do know me know that I'm a network nerd. I am running a Ubiquiti Dream Machine at my house, and this is how we go in and set it up so my DHCP service, or the service that actually hands out IP addresses, will force these DNS settings in the lookups. So I come in under the internet and under the actual interfaces. I come in here, set up where it's got a auto setting for DNS. That the auto setting is going to pull your ISP's DNS server. So whoever's providing you internet, whether it's Comcast, AT&T, Frontier, whoever it is, they're going to have their own set of DNS servers. And that's what your computer is going to use. So what you want to do is you want to change that in whatever device that it's handing out those IP addresses. So on mine, I'll come in here and I will change that. You currently see when I take it off of auto, I've got 1.1.1.3. And then Cloudflare has a backup of 1.0.0.3 as a DNS server in case the first one goes down. This way it'll look up the second one. So I put 1.0.0.3 as my secondary. And then I go in and I save this, and at that point, I'm done, and I don't have to worry about touching computers because every single time a computer connects to my network, it's going to use those two DNS servers to look up whatever website they're trying to go to. We can verify this by going back over and looking at that NS lookup tool that we were using a minute ago and find out if what we're doing is working. All right, we can check this by doing ipconfig-all, so ipconfig -all and hit enter, and we'll scroll up a little bit to see. We now see that my default gateway is 1.1 and my DNS server is 192.168.1.1. It's no longer 1.1.1.1 or 1.1.1.3. It's actually handed the gateway's address to me, so it's going to go to my gateway, and then my gateway is going to do the lookup with the DNS servers that I put in there and then send that stuff back out to me. So let's go ahead and type in let's clear the screen real quick. Let's go ahead and type in NS lookup here. And you can see that the default server now says it's a Unify and a local domain at 192.168.1.1. And what I should be able to do is I should be able to type in that same thing that we did a minute ago with xvideos.com, and it should give me back that 00. So let's try that. All right, so there we go. xvideos.com comes up. It uses the Unify local admin server, which is my at-home gateway of 192.168.1.1 or my at-home router. You can see that there is no answer. It has 0 addresses to look anything up. So this is a primary example of the best practice at home to be able to set it up so any device that connects to your network will be using the Cloudflare family setup, as opposed to using your current internet provider and having just open DNS. And you can still search and browse as you should be able to, but it gets rid of those malware sites and gets rid of those adult sites that you no longer want your kids or want somebody in your house looking at. So that's going to wrap things up for this quick video. Hopefully this was informative. Everybody understands. If you got any questions, drop them in there. I'll be happy to answer. I'm not going to know every single person's router or home network, but hopefully this gets you onto the right track of how you can go in and update your DNS records to help keep you and your family safe while you're out there on the internet. Until next time.